You're always one of everybody's favorite presenters there. So everybody, welcome back. I'm just so honored to have one of the best speakers, one of the funniest people, one of the most knowledgeable people in Wireshark, Betty DuBois with us. And you know, you do pronounce your name wrong.
I know. It's my husband's name. We pronounce it his way, even though it's wrong. Yes, you're correct.
Somebody here said you took a class with Steve Defino. I tease him. His name should be Defino. But
Right.
he grew up, he's from in San Diego. What do these kids know from Italian?
They don't know. They don't know.
So without any further ado, I'm really looking forward to this. Betty, thank you so much. Please take over.
Oh, there you go. I've actually been to Du Bois, Pennsylvania. Thank you. Okay. All right. So cool. It's gotta kind of remember to watch my my chats so that I can make sure that I can hear all y'all.
I'm going to be doing that for you as well. I'm going to be monitoring that. So you feel comfortable
awesome.
going off and
I thought you were going to go have lunch.
No, not at all. I intend to watch this. Anytime when you spoke, when of course Laura spoke, and when Hansung Bay spoke.
Hansung. Oh, I love Hansung. He's so awesome. Yeah, yeah. And Laura, you know, I've known her the longest, and she's, you know, every time I still learn stuff every time.
You know what? I know I said I handed it over to you, but I got to share something that maybe will make you laugh. Mm-hmm. So when I first heard, I knew of Laura because she wrote a bunch of Cisco books that I used to teach. Mm-hmm. Right. But one of my students told me, you got to see her speak. So I went to Sharkfest in 2009, and I sit right up front. And there's a couple, like, I don't know, 180 people in the audience for her talk. And she says something about, she's troubleshooting a problem. She goes, and here's what happened. Somebody at the perimeter decided to filter all TCP options. And I raised my hand because in Cisco, they taught us, you know, options are great inside, but people could use that to fingerprint you and figure out what OS you're running. So I said, isn't that considered best practice to mitigate reconnaissance attacks? And I'm in the front row. She goes, oh my God, are you a security guy? I said, yes.
Kiss of death.
I hate you people. Let me guess. You were worried that somebody would discover you had a Cisco router. Oh no, they just narrowed you down to 80% of the world.
Yeah.
In the meantime, you just made this application 512 times slower. I hope you're proud of yourself. And I said, when a woman insults me like that, I develop a huge crush. And I love Laura after that.
See, it's the secret, you know, nun school thing going on. Yeah, it is.
All right. So, all right. Now I'm going to mute my mic. I will be watching this. I'm also going to turn off my video. They don't need to watch me.
Okay. There you go. There's that black hair I remember. So cool. All righty. Well, let me go ahead and share my screen and we can get started. Let's see. One participant can share at a time, and then you do. Yes, I do want to continue. There you go. And here we'll do the front one. There we go. And then just bring this down. Okay. So to get started, for y'all who do not know me, ooh, there we go. My name is Betty DuBois, as Larry said, and I've been sniffing pretty much full-time for money since 1997. Not for money, you know, for learning before that. So I've been doing this a little while, and ooh, I just realized that my link is wrong here for you guys. Let me fix that right quick, because I'm going to want y'all to go to that page. Let's see if I can fix that. There we go. There we are. Okay, and then let's see if it works. And okay, so all right. So let me try that again. There we go. Okay. So if you don't mind pulling up netdetect.co, that's my company, and go to seminars. Actually, just put the whole thing in. I think I did it as a hidden link for everybody. Let's see. Oh, I hate how, there we go. I want to be able to see all of my screen. There we go. Oops. So if you go to netdetect.co and then seminars, I made you a page this morning. There we go. That has nothing there. Oh my gosh. There we go. There's no S. So if you go to netdetect.co and go to seminar, there we go. I made a page for y'all that has a couple of files in it for us to work with. And the profiles and the trace files, you might want to just go ahead and download right now. And then that way I can finish doing some of the descriptive things and you'll have those ready. So for example, if I go to profiles, that's still there on my page. The profile I'm interested in y'all taking is the NetDetect default. All right. When you go there, it's going to take you to a OneDrive link, and you can just hit upload, and hit download. It'll take down the whole file. All right. Perfect. So just download the whole thing. All right. And then go ahead and also, go ahead and put in the one for the trace file as well, so that we can all look at the same trace file. All right. Now, so while you guys are getting that downloaded, and feel free to do in the chat if you have any troubles downloading that. Okay. And then let me bring back up my deck. There we go.
Betty, could you paste the link into the chat box to where?
Oh, aren't you smart? Of course.
And Al Haji was asking, what have you been sniffing since '97 with a smiley face?
Packets.
So
only packets. Only packets. How do I get back to the chat?
You should have a dialog box that has the little chat thing. So try scrolling to the bottom of your screen,
Mm-hmm.
or it could be up at the top, and you'll see like a little thing, and one of them will say chat.
Okay, so do any of the 20 of y'all use a Mac and can tell me where?
You weirdos! You know, all the great security people have moved to Mac. I'm the last guy. I don't know what happened. Well, what is it? I'll put it in there. www.
Right. So it's netdetect.co and co.com/seminar. Okay, there we go. Yeah, the Zoom is, the Mac is the best because it's Bash. So, you know, you get all the pretty stuff for Mac, and then when you need to do important stuff, you have Bash. So it's perfect. Okay, there we go. And so what you want to go ahead and download is, here, let me just move this up and out of the way. There we go. So what you're going to want to go ahead and do is go to Profiles. There we go, which will take you here, and you want to download the very first profile. And so we'll do one thing at a time. We'll do this first. So if you go to download netdetect.default, all of these files, you just hit download, and OneDrive will zip them all up for you. Now, I use profiles in Wireshark extensively, because I don't want to have to keep redoing the same thing over and over and over and over, right? So for example, if I have a filter that finds, a particular signature or something like that, then I don't want to have to recreate that every single time I go to, look for that issue. So number one, I save the filter. And then number two, I save the profile, which is just a collection of settings like filters and colors and protocol preferences. That's all that the profiles are. And the sweet thing is The profile that you're downloading right here, when you just go ahead and hit download, it'll zip it all up and save it for you. I'm going to stick mine on the desktop. Then that will go ahead, and even if, like, let's pretend, you know, Larry, bless his heart, has a Windows computer. Well, these are all flat files. So my Mac profile will work perfectly on his Windows computer and vice versa. If you prefer Linux, you know, I want to run Ubuntu, well then great, it'll work just fine. Okay, so that makes it really nice. Okay, so hopefully I talked long enough. All y'all got that downloaded. There we go.
Betty, I want to interject you about Linux. I do run Linux on my primary laptop, but Wireshark is they don't even have 2.0 yet out for Linux.
Well, here's the deal. Okay, so it is the responsibility of the Linux version you're using. I don't want to say the Linux version. I want to use a proper term. So, like, you know, Ubuntu versus Debian versus Red Hat.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Distribution.
Thank you. That's the proper word. So, depending on your, it's the responsibility of the distribution to go ahead and do that. So either A, that's their, you know, somebody in the distribution is like, oh, hey, that's really awesome. Let me go ahead and so when you do an apt get, it, you know, it has the latest rev. Awesome. All right. It's Wireshark's responsibility to make the app itself.
But Wireshark, does Gerald and his team make a Linux version? I thought they did all their development in Windows.
No. There's only one, like, core developer who is a Windows person. All the other guys are total Linux guys and Mac guys.
That's funny. If you go to wireshark.org, there's no Linux version there.
Yes, there is. There are links to the repositories.
Oh my!
Go ahead and download it.
So that whoever monitors the distribution, they have to compile it for their
right. So you can download the latest version for Linux. You know, it's the same version as everybody else, and then you can, you know, like if I do an apt-get in Ubuntu and I'm like 3 revs back.
Yeah.
Then I can go ahead and, you know, do whatever's necessary to upgrade that in Linux itself. So you have both pieces. It's just, I'm not very good at doing that.
Yeah, me either. All right. Didn't mean to stop you there. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. That's like an important thing. And yeah. So I know it can be done. I've watched the guys do it.
Oh, Andrew says that Kali has 2.6.4.
Yeah, see, that's only 2 versions. That's only like 1 version behind.
No, that's
only
fine.
1.rev.
Like 1.99 on my Mint. Okay.
Oh, sweetheart. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. Awesome. Okay. So Andrew, that you're my new favorite. And yeah, 2.64 on Kali. That's what you want to do.
So thank you, Andrew.
Hey, no worries. And so now I forgot where I was. That's okay. So those files work anywhere. All right, now I remember. Okay, so we were going to go ahead and I downloaded those to my desktop, and didn't I? No, I didn't. I just said I did. I was gonna, and then I didn't. So desktop, net detect. Oh yeah, it says that it's there. All right. There you go. And so, there you are. Net detect default. All right. So you just go ahead and unzip it. Perfect. And now you've got a folder. Now, here's the fun part. You have to figure out where in the fold, you know, where you put that folder so that Wireshark will read it. And ironically, Larry, that you brought that up about the whole different version things and Linux things and what have you, Wireshark actually is tested on 7 different operating systems before it gets released. So each one of those operating systems puts these files like in a different place. I have no idea where any of these things are saved. But here's the cool part. There is one place I can go that will take me there. And that's what I remember. So I'm going to pop over into Wireshark. Oops, let me try that again. There we go. And here, let's clear this out and I'll start from fresh. Alrighty. So if you look way, way down, I want to make this a bit smaller so You can see it like right in the center of my screen. There we go. So see how way down here at the bottom, I have a profile default, right? And that's probably what most of y'all have, okay? But I actually have a number of profiles. What I normally do is I set them up per protocol, because you're saving coloring rules and filters and protocol preferences, so and columns. So it really aligns itself nicely with per protocol. But other people, they go ahead and do it per customer or per type of security type of alerts, or am I going to be importing a ton of snort rules or something like that. So it's very open to personalization. There we go. That's my new big word. Okay, so if you right click on that word profile, there we go, and say manage profiles, there we go, there's a link, and that's where your computer saves your profiles. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit that link. There we go. Now I'm in the right spot. Okay, so for all y'all, you should have a folder in that says profiles. All of these files are your quote unquote default. All right, so if you have any files in there, it means you've adjusted your default. Okay, which is fine. And but I want to go ahead and have a new profile, so in case once we're done you hate how I have it set up, then you don't have to keep it and you can roll right back to your default. Okay, so the hard part is now we've got to get our new file, our new profile. So here I'm going to call it Larry so that I remember which one is the new one. There we go. Awesome. And then all I got to do is drag Larry right down there into the profiles. Poof. Hey, look. Oh, look, alphabetically, you're just above Laura. There you go. Awesome. And so now it's in the right spot, so Wireshark knows where to look for it. Okay. Now here, let me look up. Make sure I don't have Wireshark installed on my Mac. Okay, you just hurt my feeling, Alahaji. That's just sad. You need to install it. Okay. No, it's like any app. It's like any app. You just like go to wireshark.org, download it, and double click on it. It'll install like any app.
I think for this session though, it may be easier for many people to just observe. So
and how awesome are you? Look, he's like already did. It took me longer to read it than it took for him to do it. How cool are you? Okay. So, and to Larry's point, so now that you have just the default, you can compare what I see versus what you see. All right. And then you'll go, oh my gosh, I'm going to use Betty's profile from now on. All right. So now we got the profile set. All right. We just have to select it. Okay. So now when y'all try to go ahead and click down at the profile, we can go to Larry. Cool. Now, is there a bunch of stuff changed? Not really. Okay. What we really need to do to have fun with it is to open up a trace file. So this is the second part. All right. So I'm back up in Chrome here. And I'm back to the seminar page. Right. And there's a link for the trace file. And go ahead and download that one as well.
Haji is asking for 2 minutes to finish the first part. And I'll confess, guys, I started to follow along and realized I was missing some of your talk. So I just said, you know what, I'm going to do that later. So I'm actually just observing.
And it's cool. See, I'm a huge believer in everybody trying to do it. However, I pay for that in time. So, and I only have a little bit. In fact, Larry, it's your job to say, okay, Betty, you're done. Because I'm not looking at time. I'm just going to go until you tell me to stop. All right.
Right, right. And you know, I'm so honored to have you here. The last thing I want to do is stop you.
No, you just tell me to stop and I'll quit. So now I've got my file downloaded. Now here's the weird thing. Okay. It's a GZ and a zip. All right. Because I save all my trace files as GZ files. So for me to have a 20, 30, 50 gig trace file is like nothing. All right. That's normal for me. So it takes a while to chug through them, right? And then they suck up all the space on my hard drive. So what I do is I GZ zip them within Wireshark, because Wireshark can actually open a GZ file, right? You don't have to unzip it. It understands a GZ file. It actually loads faster if it's gzipped, okay? But the page for my website won't accept a file unless it's like a graphic or a PDF or a ZIP file. So I have to zip it with my perfectly good gzip. I have to zip it. So that's why it's like that. I just wanted to let you know. All right. So if I double click on it, there we go. My Mac not only unzips it, but then ungzips it. So it's all good. All right. Okay. Now, so you should have either a GZ file or a PCAP file. Either way, you're good. And either way, you can open that in Wireshark. There we go. Now, so now I can actually look at the file, which is good. All right. So when I'm looking at this trace file in default, the layout's a little bit different. There we go. The layout's a little bit different. They have the 3-pane view, and I just like the format a little bit different. And there's also some filters in there already. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to Larry's profile. There we go. Yeah. So when you're working in filters, there's all sorts of different ways to approach doing a filter. For example, Larry said that you guys had already looked at the SSL handshake in your discussion today. So,
Yeah, I've been showing it periodically through yesterday and today. Yeah.
Awesome. So if I do a filter, I'm not sure in this trace file I have any SSL, but I'm almost sure I do. So I'm going to just I'm just going to type in SSL. So see how as I type, just the S, you get a pick list, right? So then I put in an S, right? And then an L, right? And it turns green. Green means go, red means stop, all right? So my filter's green, but it hasn't filtered anything yet. You have to hit enter.
Betty, I want to interject so they know, because the difference between she's playing with display filters. There are also capture filters.
Right, totally different thing.
Yeah, totally different thing. And generally the rule is try to capture as much as you can unless you specifically know. But other than that, you may find out you're missing protocols or packets that you wanted to see. So capture whatever you can and then just use display filters to find the stuff. Is that pretty much the way you look at it as well?
Well, that's my opinion.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what you don't know, right? And it's very simple to capture filter something out. And then, so I filtered it out, and then I realized later I needed it. Oh, well, too bad, it's gone. No, so there's no way to get it back. And more important to me, there are no statistics for how much I filtered out. So let's pretend I'm capturing Larry's traffic because he says, my computer's slow. And so I capture based on Larry's IP address. Well, what I don't realize is that the reason it's slow for Larry is because he's experiencing a multicast storm as a denial of service. So he's getting hammered with multicast traffic, and that's why his is slow. But if I filter it out, it's multicast. You know, if I filter for Larry, it's multicast traffic is going to everybody. So you have the person who's doing it, and then the multicast address, no Larry. So I don't know. So personally, I like to capture wide open, like, you know, 5-10 minutes, just make sure nothing weird like that's going on. And then I can do capture filters, but you can't get it back. So you have to be careful.
Haji's asking, what does the profile help when it comes to displaying traffic? All of your display filters that you create are saved in your profile. So you could create special filters that you only use for, say, Wi-Fi filters or something. And you don't.
Exactly. Because there are, let's see, 105,423 packets in this trace file. I don't want to look at all of them, right? I'm interested in SSL. So right now I'm looking at 19,353, and that's 18% approximately of my traffic. So I just went from, you know, I just narrowed my scope. All right. Cool. Yeah. In fact, now that I've narrowed it a bit, I'm going to narrow it more. So let's say that, you know, we're talking about SSL, and I have traffic that is here in the info column. See how it says just blank? Like Wireshark doesn't know. It's because Wireshark doesn't know. Okay. So it just says blank. And then sometimes it says ignored unknown record because Wireshark doesn't know because it's encrypted. Okay. And then sometimes it says application data because it's encrypted and Wireshark doesn't know what it is. All right. So those are the three things in the info column you might see, and they all mean, you know, SSL data. But let's say that I want to focus on the handshake to see if anything, you know, is going on there, or to see if I'm using the cipher suite that I'm supposed to be using. All right. So the third packet down, if you did the filter right, the third packet down should be packet number 4767. All right. Somewhere in there, there's something about a client hello. Okay. So I'm just going to bring this up a little bit so I have more room to work with. And there we go. And open the SSL header, right? And this field right here says content type handshake. So down at the bottom, I can see that the field is ssl.record.content_type. You know, when I wanted all SSL, I just typed in SSL. It's pretty easy. Okay. I'm not typing all that in. All right. So all you got to do is a right click and say apply as filter selected. That's how you should do like 95% of your filters. Oh, let's talk about that. Well, you guys can talk about that, you know, in your class, but so if you're using a static key, yes, you can decrypt, all right, if you have the key, okay? Now, getting the key copy of the key file in PEM or PFX format, so PEM or PFX format, is challenging in the environment to get that. The load balancers are the best place to go for that, all right? And then, but if you, and that's a static key, all right? Well, if I'm using a changing key like a Diffie-Hellman, I can't do that in Wireshark anymore. I can't decrypt the packet, all right, because it's a changing key. So just within the last 2 years, more and more environments are moving over to Diffie-Hellman, which is awesome, but takes the fun out of it with Wireshark. Just to kind of FYI on that.
Actually, Diffie-Hellman's no longer supported in most SSL handshakes, but they do something even harder, which is elliptical curve as a Diffie-Hellman. You see,
right?
ECDSA or EC.
Well, that's true. It is elliptical curve. Yeah. And however, the cipher suite that they use to implement that is still based on Diffie-Hellman. It's still called Diffie-Hellman.
Yeah, that's why it's called ECDH, the elliptical curve.
Yes.
Yeah,
right.
I was going to appoint them to some of Sake Block stuff. He seems to be one of the best that I've with.
Oh, he's awesome.
SSL, yeah.
But actually, for the SSL, you really want to go to Peter Wu.
Oh, is that the, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. I will look
Oh, yeah.
Peter Wu up. Because
He's
something was
awesome.
the guy who used to do it when I was going there.
Yeah, he's actually doing most of the SSL and the most of the SSL stuff. Okay. So when I do a filter for that, there we go. Now I'm down to 2.6%. Now I can go ahead and actually look at data. All right. So that's how I'm going to do most of my filters, so that I don't have to look at every single packet. I mean, you know, that's really fun and all, but I don't have time. All right. So just makes it a lot easier. Okay.
And
So let's, go
I
ahead.
found Peter. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that out loud.
What?
I just found Peter. I
Oh.
just I saved his page.
Oh, Woo. So Peter is, there you go. Peter Wu. And he's amazing. And also for the SSL, but more the quick SSL, or, you know, for the encrypted quick is, and the HTTP2 is, he's French. Alexi. Alexi is the one for that. So, okay. Now, let's see. Okay. So let's say that, you know, I've got my record type. That's an awesome, you know, little filter. I like it. I want to save it and use it all the time. Well, in order for me to go ahead and do that, I've got just two little filters over here. All right. But if you go ahead and do the plus, oh, well, three filters for you, but if you do the plus, there we go. Perfect. And we're going to call that SSL handshake. Okay. And then down to the comments, sometimes you like to put stuff in so you remember why you did it. So I always say goal. I can't type, crap. And let's see, verify elliptical curves. There we go. Cool. Okay. So that's out. Okay. Perfect. So now, you know, sometimes, hey, I want to look at the noise because I want to see the broadcast and the multicast stuff. Oh, hey, that's all been filtered out. All right. But then I need to go back, and now you need to go back to my handshake. So that's the whole purpose of saving the filters. And now that's saved within the profile. All right. Let's say that I was interested in looking at those handshakes, but only if, see how some of these are red, all right? And you can call, you notice over here, it's, some people call it a packet map. Some people call it a intelligent scroll bar. You know, I call it a packet map, all right? You can kind of notice that there's a lot of red, okay? In Betty land, I'm a simple girl, all right? So all of my colors are red and not red. So it's either bad or it's not bad, okay? So I might want to know for some of these red ones that are happening in my handshake. I'm not so much focused on security as I am on troubleshooting, but it's a great filter. So let's do that. I'm going to grab one of them that's red, all right? And it's red because it's a retransmission, all right? So in TCP, if I send you something and you don't say, okay, I'm going to send it to you again until you say, okay. So I'm going to send it to you again until you say, okay. And then I'm going to retransmit it one more time until you say, okay. Nobody wants to play with me in chat. All right. So if I open up my TCP header, and since that's an expert, something that Wireshark flags for you, that's why there's this like kind of blue line down here. So I'm going to open up the blue line. There we go. And it says this frame is a suspected fast retransmission and then regular retransmission. I'm going to go for the regular retransmission. That's the broadest filter. So I'm going to open that up. Okay. I'll give you a hint. When you see these little triangles, don't use that field to right click on, because see how down at the bottom it says expert info, WS expert? No, I don't want all experts. I just want this one. So you'll have to always open them up. There you go. And go down to the actual field 99% of the time. So remember to look down, see what your fields say. All right. So I'm going to take that retransmission. Okay, but here's my goal. I want to add it to what's already there. Okay, because I don't like to type. So I'm going to do a right click and say apply as filter. Okay. So if I say selected, it's going to be gone. If I say the ... it'll build. It's an ellipsis. It's a build. So I want to say that it's got to be both. So ... and. There we go. So Wireshark fills in the syntax for me. All right, I don't have to do it. So the ampersand means and. All right, and Wireshark puts in parentheses what was already there plus the new thing, just in case you need it. All right, well, when would you need it? Well, if I add another thing, but I make it an or, suddenly order of operations comes into play and you do need it. So Wireshark just does it all the time, even with ands, just in case. All right, it's easier to do it that way. All right, so now I have, all right, so 0.2% of my traffic for SSL for the whole trace file is SSL handshakes that required a retransmission. So if I was having, quote unquote issues with my SSL and they're like, oh, hey, security guys, hey, you should fix your stuff, man. And then you can go ahead and say, well, hey, network guys might want to actually get the packets there. All right, and I said that as a network guy. So be gentle, all right, when you talk to each other.
It's not the net.
Baby, it ain't never the network, okay? But, sometimes we do have a little issue here, as you can see right here. So it's kind of nice to be able to see, that, what layers the challenge at, okay? So that's a good filter. All right, I'm going to save that one. We'll just call it SSL with retrans. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Now let's say here, I got to go back to my SSL handshake button. I want to do one more filter. I want to do where Larry was talking about the elliptical curves. So those are they in the client hello or in the server hello, Larry, where they have those options?
The list is in the client hello of what the
Okay.
client supports. Then the server will pick something.
Okay, cool. So it's just like the Cypher suite list.
Yeah, it's part of the
Gotcha.
Cypher suite list. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so I'm going to pop back up to the client hello. All right, and there in the SSL header, I've got, more of these little triangles. All right, and in the SSL header, there's like, I don't know, a billion triangles. I'm not clicking them all. Okay, so all you have to do is right click on it and expand subtrees. So what did you learn in Betty Land today? Right click. Okay. And let's see, so here's all my Cypher suites, 28 different suites. All right, and I'm looking, there you are.
Oh, I'm sorry, I still see Diffie-Hellman. So this is the latest Mac client? When was it first done?
So let's see where this trace file came from. Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna go into capture file properties. It was done in 2016. Let's see.
And I don't mean to sidetrack you, but this is testable for my students. Notice this handshake. It has the bottom 5 or 6 handshakes say DHE. Well, that's Diffie-Hellman. That's going to do a key agreement for the AES. Mm-hmm. But next to it is DSS. And I mentioned that that's been retired, but it still could show up on your test. That is the digital signature standard using DSA that would be used to sign these SHA hashes. So just so they know that. So that's something they need to know for their test. It's no longer in a modern handshake. Yeah, very cool. So we know that asymmetric algorithms are used for key agreement and for signing. Diffie-Hellman can only do key agreement. So we had to pick something else. DSS can only do signatures. So
There you go.
Fantastic.
Awesome. So this was done in 2016. It was on a Mac, so I was basically sniffing myself.
We've all done it, Betty. We have all done it.
But it is the best way to learn. So you know, you could do, if you know, hey, Andrew said he has a Mac, he could go ahead and do that today and see if it's still doing that. You'll notice I've got the dark theme going on. I actually just upgraded my Mac yesterday. No guts, no glory. And so it would be interesting to see if mine has changed, because I know exactly what it used to do. So now I can see if it's changed. All right. Okay. But what I was interested in was those elliptical, there we go. Okay. Because I want to do a knot. All right. So I'm really interested in a client hello where we are not doing elliptical curves. Okay. So, ooh, here we go. That would be the perfect field. Yes, there we go. That'd be a perfect field because I want to do a knot. All right. So I'm going to say you have to be a client hello. All right. So content type was 22 for the handshake. That gives you all 4 pieces of the handshake. But I really want to focus on the client hello. All right. Because that's the place that it's going to be. And I'm going to do a right click and prepare a filter. All right. It means that I'm not going to, don't hit enter because I'm not done yet. All right. So prepare. There you go. So I just cleared out what I already had. Okay. And then I'm going to hit that one and say, but not having elliptical curves, you know, because that would be a bad thing. And apply as filter, ... and not selected. There we go. Oh, I shouldn't have done it. I see I got, so what I did was, I didn't look and it had a triangle, and this is the weird thing I got in there. And this is what is called an offset filter. So it's from the beginning of the frame, go 223 bytes. 223 bytes. Here, let me pop that in the chat, actually. There we go.
Offset filters can be very powerful for things that don't exist, but they can also be a pain in the butt.
Yes. And so, and to look at 1 byte and it should equal 0, 0. And that's not what I meant to do. So I will go and do it again. It's no worries. So client hello, prepare, and then there you go. See, that was my, yeah, see, I want that field. And it's a list. See, it's not actually a field. There we go. So I'm going to come on down here. There we go. That's the one I want. So that I want this field to exist. What the value of the field is irrelevant. I just want the field. So I'm going to do a right click and prepare a filter and not selected. There we go. And I'm going to take away the value. There you go. So if that field is there, awesome. If the field's not there, I need to know. So if I right now hit enter and I have a blank screen, it's a good thing. So think positive thoughts. There we go. Awesome. So that's an easy way to test. All right, to make sure that it's being done properly. There we go. It's a much better filter. There we go. Cool. Now, that's a good filter, but it's also a, so we'll do that, you know, SSL. So no elliptical. Can't type. No elliptical. All right. And, but there's also another thing that would be good. So this goes with profiles and with display filter syntax, but it's different. All right. Display filter syntax can be used in multiple places in Wireshark. obviously for filters, duh, but also in color and rules. Remember how some of my packets were red and they were retransmissions? Right? So since this is a bad thing, you know, when it should not have we should not have this combo, I'm going to copy it, save it as a filter. All right. And then I'll just there we go. And then I'm hitting the wrong button. That's my problem. All right. I'm just getting a little too fast there. And I want to save that as a coloring rule. Okay. So I just go to View and Coloring Rules. There we go. So these are the coloring rules I have currently. They're very, very different than the Wireshark default. And they serve how my brain works. Coloring rules are a personal thing. The goal is to, you know, when something unexpected happens or weird happens or bad happens, it should be like a color that makes your face do this. All right. See how I'm all like scrunched up, right? So whatever color that is for you, right? And whatever things are important to you, that's what you add in color rules. All right. Feel free to like blow away the default. All right. Now, you know, it's not going to hurt anybody's feeling. All right. It's a starting point. It's not the end. Okay. So I'm going to do a plus, right? And then paste in my syntax. All right. And then we'll call this a new color rule. I'm going to start it with the letter S. All right. Because Laura, the one that Larry was talking about before we started, she loves color rules, loves them. But the one the cool thing is she categorizes them. I've had some people where they have like 40 color rules and they're 40 colors. How are you going to remember that? All right. But what Laura does is she categorizes them. She's got security rules and they're all one color, and then troubleshooting, and then they're all one color, and then like notes to self, all one color. So that's why you see these T dashes, right? So those are troubleshooting. All right. So
I noticed, I have some funny observations I noticed between Laura and Hansung. And I taught for Hansung. I worked for him for a little bit. And Laura, as she pointed out, loves her coloring rules.
Yes.
And I took her first boot camp, and it was one of the best classes ever. If you want to learn Wireshark, she's fantastic. Oh, yeah. But she has, like you say, a coloring rule for that. She uses the term "butt ugly," dude, like orange and green for this really ugly packet.
Yeah.
And she goes on, and you can't pass the exam without learning these things. So then I learned from Hansung, and he goes, all right, one of the first things I do to configure Wireshark is I turn off coloring rules. I find them in the way. So he just turns them all off. But then he has me teach slabs for him. And if you kept the defaults on, you would have easily found the problem in the first lab.
Right. Right. Because that's the thing for me. It's like, I want it to jump out at me. I want it to go, hi, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. You know?
Yeah. So what I've found when I'm teaching is leave the defaults, because that's what the students are going to have.
Right.
So I just told them, leave the defaults. I show them how they work if you want to use them. But for this class, I'm using default coloring rules because that's what you're going to say.
Exactly. Elliptical curves. Am I spelling elliptical correctly? Is that close? It's close enough. All right. So I've got it, right? And turn it on because it's not on by default. And then I just go ahead and change the foreground, which is your text, all right? And then your background, I don't know, let's make security, I don't know, pick a color, Larry.
Oh, a bad one, purple.
Purple, got it, like it. Eggplant, there you go. Because who likes eggplant, all right? Nobody likes eggplant. And then that's not going to look good together, so I'm going to make my text white.
I used to make a good eggplant parmesan, but no one seems to like it besides me. So
you have to really work. You have to get them dry. You have to pat them with paper towels and get them.
They have to be thin. They have to be very thin.
Very thin. And so there we go. Perfect. Now, of course, we can't test it because we don't have any, but let's pretend we did. We would see them there in that packet map, and our eye would go right to it. All right. Or even better, you have a column. So Laura loves colors, Betty loves columns. All right. So you have a column for coloring rules. I could sort it. I love sorting. It's a thing with me. All right. So on the top, you know, it's all TCP, but if I come down to the bottom, ooh, yay. All right. So I have some bad TCPs, and then I have TCP high deltas. All right. So if I had, let's pretend, you know, I had a bunch, then they'd be down just above the T's. There'd be the, you know, eggplant S's. All right. And that just makes it easier too. All right. To just skip to the end, man. Skip to the end. Okay. Now, I want to do just one or two a little more challenging filters. Okay. And, oh, I forgot to tell you, one huge thing, all right, is, so view coloring rules, okay, is the list for the color rules is like an access control list. Whatever's on top wins. So right now, I'm going to have to, every single packet's going to have to go through this rule to get to any other rules. All right. If I've got a packet that's goes through 5 different rules, first one wins. Wireshark stop looking once it hits a match. Right.
That is actually a testable concept. What she said, that it was a like an access control list. It is common knowledge. When I say that, that means it's a testable question. It is common knowledge that access control lists process top down.
Right. So down here at the bottom, it kind of reminds you, rules are processed in order until a match is found. So there you go. Okay. So Larry, are your people studying for both the CISSP and Laura's test?
No, this is just CISSP. So their packet level stuff will be pretty simple.
Okay.
But I do go over, we haven't gotten it yet, I do take apart the IP, TCP, UDP, and ICMP headers,
Okay.
Which will help them understand it, like a dozen attacks that happen.
Awesome.
But they don't get any real detailed stuff.
Okay, because you kept mentioning the Wireshark test too, so I was like,
oh no, I also I've been known to teach Wireshark classes, but this is just CISSP.
Got it. All right. So let's say I want to do, you know, a little more complicated filter. All right, and let's say I'm interested in you know, all of the different things that it could be that you could use in this trace. And basically, if you go into statistics and, oops, I just closed the trace file. What was I thinking? All right. If you go into statistics and capture file properties, it tells you where this trace comes from. Here, let me bring this up. There we go. And customer is Pubmatic, and their ads are not displaying on their web pages. So my goal is to find traffic having to do with Pubmatic. Well, if I want to go ahead and do that as a filter, I can do that with a contains filter. All right. So, and contains is the operator.
One of the most useful filters, guys.
So if I say frame contains, oops, and I spell it correctly, there we go. Pubmatic. There you go. Pubmatic. They're an advertising company. There we go. So now I have every single packet that has Pubmatic in lowercase in this trace file. So the protocols could be HTTP. It could be DNS. It could be SSL, because you know in the client hello, you actually say the name of the server you want to go to. Right? So when you're doing that, you know, handshake part, you're still in clear text. So you say, you know, I'm trying to go to google.com. Well, so it could be an SSL.
It could be right in the certificate in the server hello. When they give you the certificate, their
exactly.
Yeah,
their company name.
Yep.
Yeah, the company name. So there's a lot of different protocols it could be. So by doing it, saying frame contains, that means look anywhere in the frame. I don't know where it is, just look there. Okay.
Could be TCP, could be UDP, because you could have said, right, you could say TCP contains.
Sure, I could say DNS.
Right. But by specifically, by putting frame, it's anything.
Right. So for example, like right now I have 104 packets, all right, by doing just DNS. And when I hit my drop down and I come back down to frame contains Pubmatic. All right. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but whatever. And there we go. There's 213 packets. So exactly, look in the whole frame. I don't care what protocol it is. I just want it. All right. But I'm going to go ahead and grab my DNS contains Pubmatic. Okay, because the first step in most things is DNS. Now, granted, in a security environment, personally, you can go ahead and obviously type the IP address. But if you're looking at what a standard user is doing for anything, whether it's internal or external, they're going to start with DNS. Okay, so it's a great way to go ahead and kind of skip to the end. So,
speaking of which, we've got 4 minutes.
Got it. So I've got my standard query for Pubmatic, right? And then if I go ahead and make my columns wider, then I can see the IP address, all right? So now I know what IP address was used for the initial query, okay? So it's a great way to find it. The only problem is, I did ads pubmatic.com, pubmatic.com. Well, what if it's mixed case? Contains is a string filter. It's a character string filter. So if you go ahead and put in, capital P, that's completely different in hex than a lowercase p. So then you would have to go ahead and work a bit harder. So I'm going to say frame matches, and that's a different operator. So the frame matches invokes the Perl compatible regular expressions engine. It's the same as Snort or Nmap, same that they use as well, right? And I put a double quote and I say, I don't care about case sensitivity. So open paren and question mark, little I, close paren. There we go. And that means everything after this, I don't care what case it is, doesn't matter. All right. And then I just put in Pubmatic. And double quote. So remember we had 203 when we just searched for frame contains Pubmatic. Let's see if we get a different answer. Like for example, what Larry said, what if in the ASCII of the server hello, I have the company name? Well, that's going to have a case somewhere.
There is free will somewhere, localized, but it's usually easier and safer to stick with.
So there is a definite difference in doing case sensitivity or not case sensitive. So that is the
back to
you can't do it with now it's time to
I'm just saying, last year's
that I gave you on the seminar page.
Outside
Number one,
the system,
got a OneNote.
freedom, hypothetically, creatively, make it part of the program to include the chaos.
So and all sorts of stuff on profiles, filters, and color rules. So we're digging that. And then filter reference. And that is the presentation I did in
must have seen
that as well.
light years away.
How am I doing on time? Did I cram that in?
Thank you very much.
So if you have questions, questions, you can feel free to hit me up. It's not a problem. My contact info is right there. That's not a problem. I don't mind answering questions. If you start to work my nerves, then I'll just send you to ask.wireshark.org. But it takes a while to trip over the edge on questions, so I don't mind. It's not a problem.
Betty, thank you so much.
No, you're welcome.
Guys, I hope you really appreciate it. And actually, you went higher than I thought, but good for me. I hope other people do. So I